You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker, what you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess, screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown! I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it! Hits it!
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
You know what? Maybe this is different. Maybe this is all different. And I will underline, I will highlight maybe. Maybe it's different. And there are a couple of angles to look at here. You go back to Sunday, and I know that the Pacers shot it at a 57% clip. And I know that Cleveland probably had the feel as if they had not played anything meaningful basketball-wise in a long period of time because the Heat, they were ready to go home. I realize that not every other series at all will translate or equate to the Pacers and the Cavaliers. But can we be witnessing something just a little bit different, something out of the ordinary? Because it is tough not to recognize what's gone down in the semifinals so far. You have 3 road teams getting wins, and 3 road teams getting wins in a variety of ways. You had the Pacers going back to Sunday. I mean, if you want to factor in the end of round number 1, even with Golden State, you can. But I'm going to go ahead and keep this to Eastern Conference and Western Conference semifinals. And, of course, you do have Golden State and Minnesota coming up later on tonight. But you go back to Sunday night, and the Pacers, basically from start to finish, there was a lull there in the third quarter. We recognize that. But let's face it, as far as postseason is concerned, with a team like Cleveland that has been the second best team in the NBA throughout the course of the season, that was a dominant performance on the road by the Pacers. It just was. It's like when you use the term steal, even Reggie Miller last night said, hey, my Pacers, they stole game 1. There was nothing stolen. They owned it. It was ownership. You know, I guess if you're going to describe anything in the sense of thievery, it was there's home court, but they had ownership of that. They owned that game, really from start to finish, other than that third quarter wrinkle. And that was that. So could things be different? You saw a dominant performance on the road in game 1. If you watched last night, you saw the Knicks get down 20. They come back. The Celtics go stone-ass cold from distance, but just as they do, continue to shoot it at a high volume. And that's what you do. That's what you're taught. I mean, really, you're taught that in basketball at an early age. If you're considered whatsoever a maker, not just a shooter, anybody's a shooter, but are you a maker? If you're a maker, you are told to continue to shoot because at some point the makeability that you show or possess will reemerge. And you saw Boston, that's just how they're built offensively. 3 after 3 after 3. And oftentimes that can bury the opposition. But on nights like last night, you can also bury yourself. They had no exit strategy. And really, when you think about it, they scored, 16 points in the fourth quarter? Think about this with the Boston Celtics offensively, for example. They had 21 points between the fourth and overtime. 21 points. I think 46 overall in the second half, if I'm doing my math accurately. That in no way, shape, or form would describe to us what we would normally suggest would be the Boston Celtics offense. Knicks took advantage, got down 20, came back. I thought whenever Brunson missed that floater that there was no way they were going to win in overtime, and then Boston kind of continued that struggle in overtime. I mean, think about it. The Knicks just scored 8 in overtime, but 8 was enough. Ha-ha. So the Knicks went on the road completely differently than the Pacers did a night prior. And then if you watch the Nuggets and the Thunder last night, the Thunder had one of the more dominant seasons we have seen by an NBA team this year, without question. And they're going 11 deep. They're playing dudes. Everybody talks about Sam Presti at the top of the list for Executive of the Year. I'm not going to argue that, and we'll get into that coming up in a minute because I don't know who votes on this. I'd have to look. James, check and see who votes on Executive of the Year because they don't know their ass from nothing. Seriously, you don't know. Like, there's your ass and there's nothing, and you're confused about which one's which. Nothing. Or ass. But you watched the Nuggets last night. Sam Presti put this Thunder team together. Normally you tighten up the rotation in the postseason. OKC went, at least in the first half, I saw 11 deep. And then the Nuggets showed why Jokic is an MVP. 42, 22, and 6, and come back and get a win. Yeah, James.
So it's a panel of 30 basketball executives, one from each of the NBA's teams.
Oh, great. So basically, to even get on this, Kevin Pritchard would probably have to vote for himself.
Probably.
I would imagine. If I'm Kevin Pritchard, and I bet he didn't, I would vote for myself. You got to be kidding me. Did you see that list? Like, Rob Pelinka's up there. What the hell did Rob Pelinka accomplish? You know how easy it is in L.A.? It is easy. You're in an easy chair. I know you're going to say, well, there's so much pressure. My ass, there's so much pressure. You're in an easy chair because basically the rest of the NBA wants to see you succeed. The rest of the NBA will bend a knee to make sure you get what is adequate for your team to be competitive. Rob Pelinka? Because of what? He got Luka because he took advantage of a numbnut general manager and Nico Harrison? And who knows how that is all going to play out. But still, yeah, you gotta be kidding me. So the Pacers have 2 executives, and I think we have documented before how difficult it is to build, to sustain, to win at a high level. And then after the high level, winning to maintain that around here. It just is. It's the way that it is. It is difficult. We know that. It is not L.A. It is not Miami. It is not New York. It is not these so-called destination locations unless you want to play with the ultimate distributor, the ultimate orchestrator, unless you want your numbers to rise because you're playing with a dude that is unselfish and will get you the basketball as an elite level passer. If you want your game, and then correspondingly speaking, if you want your team's game to be on the right, you want to play with Tyrese Halliburton. You want to play with him. You do. If you want your game to be better. There are a lot of guys, I'm sure, in different forms and different fashions that are the same. But this is not a place that they go, hey, Indiana. Yeah, that's where I want to go and play. Think about this. With this team right now, what have we been talking about? We've been talking about what happens in the offseason. How do you maintain your big man? And then how to have to break apart the team. How do you do that? And my suggestion is, if you're the Simons, then you pay. All right, you pay. You tell the fan base out there, if this season goes hopefully the way that it continues to go, you tell the fan base, you've sat through a lot of crap, a lot of BS, a lot of baloney, guys that have wanted out, guys that thought the grass was greener someplace else. As it turned out, it wasn't. Do you want to be here? If you want to be here, you do. We have a good team. The fans have hung around through all this. You owe the fan base that. So pay these dudes. If you like the combination that you have, pay them. Simple for me to say. We'll get back to the executive of the year in a minute. Not even in the top 10 did I see? Say what? That's just all about being here. Seriously, that is the mentality of Lou Williams. I'm just going to be honest with you right now. I haven't watched a second of the Pacers this season. All right, so why in the hell would anybody? Why do you factor in anything that you say then? Why do we have to listen? Why should we listen to anything you have? You haven't even seen the team play. Listen, you're so gracious with your honesty, but you're profound with your dumbassery. You're an analyst. You're getting paid as an analyst. Do the work. Anywhere. That's neither here nor there. But why I bring that up is that's kind of the mentality here. I've always said this. You have to do so much more to end up winning and then obviously getting recognition that comes with that winning. It's like the film Kingpin. I think I brought this up before, right? And I know you're thinking, what's a Fairley Brothers film have to do with this? But it's like Kingpin because Randy Quaid was Amish, and remember Woody Harrelson, heard him and the way that the bowling ball struck. Yeah, this is all fictitious, right? But I think, didn't Randy Quaid, as an Amish dude, didn't he bowl like 15 frames because they have to do even more than others do because they're Amish to prove themselves? They have to do this to prove themselves. We have to go even beyond what is normalcy. And by God, that's exactly what you have to do here. And if you saw the Colts, that was the Manning era. You always had to go beyond. And then once you had Peyton Manning, you went beyond, and then everybody started paying attention because you did have one of those superstars. Now you have to go beyond. And if you're Halliburton, you have to prove it beyond just what we see. You have to prove it to those that don't watch. They get up in the morning and half-ass a box score. And honestly, that has been the case even for fans here locally. Fans here locally don't always watch and then get up in the morning and look at the box score. And then, well, there's a reason why this has happened. Look at this box score, and you don't know anything. Some fans here, and then nationally, that is the case. And that is where you end up. And that is why, Executive of the Year has zero mention for the team. And I hate to use this term because every coach and former coach, they use it, and I know it drives you nuts. The culture. Like, I believe in it. It's like narrative. I don't want to use the term. I'm dumb, and I realize that, so I'm not trying to make myself sound smart by using the term narrative. So I've grown kind of to hate it. But culture is true. And look what you have here. Wait a minute. At this level, you have a team that plays well together. It's left hand, right hand, knows what everybody is doing. It is the team concept. It's what everybody that's ever grown up around here has been told about basketball in the state of Indiana and the reason why they love basketball in the state of Indiana. It's a team game. We love the team game. Bob Knight was the ultimate team game coach. Team game. We love that. And that's exactly what you get with the Pacers. That's a team game. Guys feed off of Halliburton. You have guys that not, at least on the reg, are able to go out and get it on their own, but will thrive in being put in position where they're most comfortable, and they get their own. But it's interesting how far you have to go to get the recognition at all. I mean, hell, we're just 2 weeks clear of arguing with a bunch of idiots at the Athletic or those that are former players, I should say current players, that said what they said about Tyrese Halliburton being the most overrated in the NBA. Yeah, if you're the Pacers, you don't look at that at all. In terms of team game and winning, there's zero overrated about that. Like, how stupid do you have to be? And believe me, some of these people are stupid. Some of these people, they feel that they can get over on you because you don't pay attention. And they're not bright at all. Or you would recognize that, which would lead me to this. Can this be a different offseason? You're seeing these road teams win. 3 of the 4 so far, and obviously the 4th out west is later on tonight that are game ones with the Timberwolves and Golden State. But can this be a little bit different? Because I know when we all grew up watching the NBA, it was basically a foregone conclusion. If you're going to go on the road, you're more than likely going to lose. But we have seen so far maybe this is different. So I would make the argument when the Pacers, when they lace it up to go against the Cavaliers later on tonight, are we looking for this team to be different? Was that a flash in the pan on Sunday, or was this now the team that we should recognize as being the team? Is this what we talked about since the change of the calendar? Is this what we have discussed since that Charlotte Hornets disaster at home back in early December? Is this different? And that's what I mentioned to Jake when we were doing our crossover, that maybe this is different. Maybe this just is who this team is right now. I'm going to tell you what, confidence is something. When you've got confidence, you have it all right there. And confidence is built through success in shot making, and with a team that maybe is not so great individually at all, defensively, all of a sudden you're a hell of a lot better defensively when you go down on the offensive end and you're knocking down shots. So I mentioned to Eddie Gill yesterday on the show that has to be incredibly demoralizing to the opposition when they come down and they think that they're closing the gap on you, and then you come down in 5 seconds and score again. But is it different? And I guess we shall see coming up later on tonight. Ultimately, what we do is we sit back and we watch the game. So I don't look at this tonight as, the whole term, having your cake and eating it too, or this being gravy, or what other nerdery am I missing here? House money, that's another one. Yeah, we're playing with house. No, you're not playing with house money, because Cleveland's good enough to come here and win a game easily. There's no house money being played with. When you go out there, you have to play with the mentality that you did on Sunday night. Now, if the shot-making ability consistently at that level comes with it, then so be it. But you have to go in there and believe you're the better team, and then portray that over the course of game number 2. This can't be one of these things, well, now we have home court. Not at all. Like, my expectation is for this team to go out and play the way that we have seen them play so far in the postseason. And let's face it, a lot of what we witnessed on Sunday is a lot of what we have seen so far through round number 1. And then oftentimes we bring up the fact, well, there's an injury, there's always some other circumstance as to the reason why the Pacers are playing well and getting over in the fashion than what they do. And maybe it comes down to this team is just different right now. I think that's one of those significant gauges that we'll check out coming up later on tonight. And I, for one, cannot wait. Game number 2, you can hear it right here on The Fan. I've got extra time tonight, James. Is that true? Probably a little bit after 6:30 coverage begins game 2 with the Pacers and the Cavaliers over in Cleveland coming up later on tonight. Game 3 back at home. I cannot, this weekend should be outstanding. But again, don't get this false sense of security. This Cleveland team, they're an ass kicker. So don't get that false sense of security. Well, they can't win on the road. No, they can easily. They are a talented group. I guess what I want to see from the Pacers is I want to see this be more about them and not as much about the moment or the good fortune or being in a zone or any of those things that any of us can go through. Hey, I was in a zone. I'm not going to, but the next game maybe you stink. This doesn't need to be a roller coaster. I'm hoping that the type and the style and the level of play that we have witnessed is more of who they are right now than anything else. And I think tonight, because that is going to be the toughest game that they have seen this season coming up later on tonight, that will tell, I think, a significant tale of the tape. We got it for you right here. 239-1070, loaded show. Rakestraw, bottom of the hour. Who else is on here?
We got Denari at 4, and we got Tom Withers of the Associated Press out of Cleveland at 5.
Tom Withers of the AP in Cleveland at 5. Yeah, there will be some disappointment if there are some struggles tonight. because I've thought about this team. I just think it is a team, and I think that it is worthy of what we have seen so far in the confidence that you have for them to be able to sustain. Yeah, not at 57%, but it's easy to say. But what if this is more real than it is just a moment? Speaking of the moment, I think that moment is later on tonight when we find out a little bit more about this group. Rick Carlisle has talked about how, every game is different. You have to have a different mentality, but hopefully the outcome is the same for you when you have that success. That is very descriptive of what we're looking at coming up in Game 2 later on tonight. I mentioned last night, Knicks and Celtics. Knicks in overtime, 108-105, 1-0, best of 7 Eastern Conference semifinals against Boston. And the Nuggets a road win, 121-119 over the Thunder. Gilgeous-Alexander goes for 33, 10, and 8, but Jokic was spectacular, 42, 22, and 6. And maybe the telltale sign for the Nuggets was the second half. They go for 35 in the third, 36 in the fourth. And as I mentioned with the Knicks and the Celtics, the Celtics 23 in the third, 16 in the fourth. They could not throw it in the Bay. It was that bad. Warriors-Timberwolves tonight, 9:30. That's Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinals. And Pacers-Cavaliers, Game 2 coming at you. 7 o'clock is the tip time. 6:30 coverage begins right here on the Fan. We'll get to the Executive of the Year, which is just laughable, but that's just kind of what you get here. I guess ultimately there's going to be no award and very little, if any at all, recognition. But much like Tyrese Halliburton and the whole overrated thing, I think there's now become an understanding of how that is so incredibly wrong. Much like there's going to be an understanding of how Executive of the Year has been so incredibly wrong. It's all about being here. It's all about being a Pacer fan and covering the Pacers because you have to go like Kingpin that extra yard to prove yourself. Now, maybe it's not fair. Who knows? But it's the truth. See if the Pacers can do that coming up later on tonight. 239-1070 is the number. Email address is jmv@1075thefan.com. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Thank you all for joining us in here. The Alamo Draft House and Cinema on Cinco de Mayo. Hopefully everybody has sidestepped a significant hangover and is feeling good today. But we had a great time out on the West Side yesterday. And to everybody that joined us, thank you very much. It is going to be a busy week. You got the Grand Prix coming up this weekend as well, and then we'll get set for qualifying and the rest of the month of May, and it is always better when the Pacers are hooping and the racers are racing. 239-1070. Calls and more. Greg Rakestraw and Chris Denari and the guy that you said is coming on from Cleveland. Tom Withers. Tom Withers. You don't think I should reference him as joining us now, the guy that James says is calling from Cleveland?
Probably not.
No?
Probably not.
Here's that guy. Hey, guy, how are you doing? Tom Withers coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. All the stories leading up to this game we'll have for you as well. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
is cool, consider me Miles Davis.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Holy hell, not in the top 12 would Kevin Pritchard be. And a shout out to Chad Buchanan. In the NBA Basketball Executive of the Year voting results. Now, my assumption is with this, first of all, it's dumb as hell. I mean, let's just face it, it's just dumb as hell. But secondly, is it because the Pacers didn't do anything? Is that the price you pay by running it back because you don't get recognized? How do you not recognize this team and what they did? Have you guys checked out who got votes in this dumbassery? Sean Marks of Brooklyn. He got 5 total points. He got 1 first-place vote. Brooklyn. Brooklyn couldn't beat us. And I mean you and me and James and his man bun and Greg Rakestraw on hold. Here's the other one. This is laughable. Monty McNair of Sacramento had 3 total points. They were a disaster. Disaster. And they made it worse. They brought in Levine. They thought it was bright to bring in DeRozan. They were a disaster. They were so underwhelming and disappointing. See, that's why if you're around here, you got to understand, once again, you got to go the extra mile. I'm just assuming you get this because, A, you're here in Indiana, although it's Sacramento. But B, it's because you don't do anything. Is this the price you pay for running it back? Well, you know, it was already put together, so clearly, I mean, any recognition in the top 12. Am I just seeing things? I mean, you're in L.A. If you're Rob Pelinka, you snap your fingers and things happen. It's incredible. What did Boston do in the offseason? What did I love Brad Stevens, but what the hell did he do? What did he do? I know they're defending champion. They stayed the same. That stuff's incredible. And I guess if it mattered more to you, I know all that matters is tonight and winning and all that, but my goodness, how stupid is that? See, this is the type of stuff where it makes me or helps me understand why a lot of you get so butthurt. Because nationally, there's no name recognition normally brought or recognition in general about anything. Because I used to be butthurt in the same fashion. And then I just thought, well, this is the way that it is. But this is just all in all stupid. Now, how in the world is that representative of anything? Hey, Kobe Alba's done a great job in Cleveland. Look what they did in the regular season. In one game, you lose one game in game one. That doesn't make it an absolute disaster by any stretch. Trajan Langdon in Detroit, they had an incredible turnaround. Raphael Stone in Houston, really good team, disappointing in the postseason. Lawrence Frank with the Clippers. I mean, he got 12 total points. He got a first-place vote. He got a second-place vote, 2 of them, in fact. So is that just trying to talk Kawhi Leonard into wanting to play, being motivated to play? Is that what that comes down to? Not being injured? Now, you know what? You're really not that injured. You want to go out there and play for us here? You feel like playing? Yeah, that's a big wow right there for sure. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, our friend Greg Rakestraw joins us. Hello, Greg. How are you?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, great. I'm just going over the executive of the year and the Pacers not having a name in the top 12. How about that?
I'm much more concerned with them finishing in the top 8, which they have done, potentially finish in the top 4 for a second consecutive year, and maybe even going beyond that. So I can let that be like water off a duck's back.
So I'm curious, is there a way where I think a lot of people are suggesting, well, and I think this comes from the water finds its level crowd, or there's no way they're going to be able to play like that or shoot like that again. Is there a way where maybe we're kind of under-highlighting what this team has become to where it is right now? I mean, are we not giving them enough credit, or do you expect them to kind of fall back in what is going to be the most difficult situation of the season coming up later on tonight in Game 2 in Cleveland?
I think tonight is all about the Cleveland Cavaliers, not so much about the Indiana Pacers. You know, we have seen that the Pacers can do this, if not on a night-by-night basis, then on a frequent basis. And I don't think it was so much about what Cleveland did wrong on Sunday. I thought the Pacers played that well. I think tonight for the Indiana Pacers is all about opportunity. Do you end the series if you win both in Cleveland? No, but you come damn close to it. And it means the arithmetic changes dramatically about coming back here to Gainbridge Fieldhouse for games 3 and 4. So you will not face a more desperate team than I think you have all year than Cleveland potentially seeing a 64-win season be in an 0-2 predicament, losing both games at home. So whatever the Pacers thought they were going to see on Sunday, they'll see even more of an effort from Cleveland coming up tonight. If the Pacers can play anywhere close to as good as they did on Sunday, they give themselves an opportunity.
Greg Rakestraw of the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I have reminded people, and I don't have to remind myself, Cleveland is as good as anybody, second best over the course of the long haul of the regular season in the NBA. And, 3 and 4 here in Indy is going to be difficult too. So just because you won that game 1 in the fashion in which you did, you still got to buckle up and make sure you play at this level. That's why I'm hoping maybe this is more about the Pacers being consistently at that level than it is just playing, above their means or playing above their skis, so to speak, in game 1 Sunday.
Well, let's face it, at the end of the regular season, I think there were all of 5 teams in the entire league that had a better record than the Indiana Pacers. What I don't have calibrated or have this stat off the top of my head for you is if you win over the last 55, 57 games, knowing the Pacers were stuck in neutral or reverse to start the year, and we're 10 and 15, what is their record over that period? It's probably in the top 5. In other words, it should not surprise anybody that the Pacers were going to be this competitive in the series with the Cleveland Cavaliers. The other thing that gave me some hope going into the series was not just how I felt about the Pacers, and it's not a knock on Cleveland, it's just the way of the world in the NBA. This is a Cleveland team that is very good. They're also very young, and they're learning their way to the playoff ropes, which is something that the Indiana Pacers did last year. And this league, more than any other, you seem to have very incremental improvements in postseason play. It's can you win one more round than you did a year ago. So it was, going into the series, I thought Cleveland's going to be the favorite. But I knew that the Pacers would be competitive. And frankly, because of how they are playing and the youth of this Cleveland team, I thought they absolutely had a shot to win this series. And game 1 just confirmed that.
Is that Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline? A lot of IMS responsibility starting coming up this weekend for the Grand Prix. Let's play off of Barber and Pelot as usual. But, hey, who's hot? And I know that there's a huge difference between what you're doing, in the Grand Prix compared to what you do in the greatest spectacle in racing. But besides Pelot, who's hot coming into the month of May here in Indy?
Lundgaard's been fantastic so far this year. I mean, Alex has taken so much of the spotlight. Guys that have had consistent results have been Lundgaard, have been Rosenquist. Not as much for Rosenquist in terms of Barber, but Pelot has just been tremendous. Like, you have to go back to Dan Weldon 20 years ago or Scott Dixon in the COVID year to have a guy who has gotten off to a start like Pelot has done. And obviously we kind of take everything that happened in 2020 with a slight grain of salt because it was so different, than any other year that was put together. But to give you an example, Dan Weldon in 2005 won 4 of the first 5 races and won the points championship with a race to spare. Was up by 80 points at the end of the deal. That's the sort of stuff that Alex Pelot is on. And the fact that I made it a point to look up after Sunday's race, hey, who has won the most races in a single IndyCar season? The fact that I'm doing it after 4 races, tells you all you know about what Alex Palou has done. It is a great combination of driver and team. And, yes, things can change for the 500, but he is the obvious favorite heading into the Grand Prix this weekend.
Anybody kind of off the radar that you like? And I know a lot of this dialogue you're going to have coming up this weekend and then further as we get into qualifying week and then out at IMS for the Indy 500. But anybody kind of off the radar that you got an eyeball on going into this weekend?
Well, it's crazy to think of the Penske guys as being off the radar, but they frankly were until this weekend, where McLaughlin and Power were much more competitive. Wasn't like Newgarden was buried that deep in the field. But, John, here's the thing with how, deep these fields are now. You have a really good race car, and you can make some pretty impressive moves from a strategy standpoint just to get yourself in the top 10. So the fact that the Penske guys seemingly figured some things out at Barber bodes well heading into the month of May. And the other guy that, again, you're not sure can he replicate this on a week-by-week basis, but the fact that Rinus VeeKay was very competitive in that Dale Coyne car, and knowing he has been awfully good in terms of qualifying for the 500. He's been really good in terms of the Grand Prix in years gone by. Let's see if he can repeat what he did on Sunday, being a top 5 car most of the day.
All right. Help me before I let you go. Identify the red legs, and we saw what happened last night. Yeah, that was a bummer, but they get blanked anyway. They went through a week ago a fantastic week, and then not so much right now. 4 games back of the Cubs, and the Cubs mostly have been hot so far this season. What do you think about our team in Cincinnati baseball-wise?
Slightly above average. Pitching has been better than I expected it to be. Offense clearly has lagged behind. I do think there is something to a new manager learning his team and figuring out what buttons to push. Terry Francona has had nothing but success at every managerial stop he's had. They're going to figure it out eventually, so I'm willing to kind of give this team a little bit of a longer runway, knowing, A, they're young, and B, their manager's like Hall of Fame level in terms of a manager. That tends to be a pretty good combination at some point in time when it clicks.
All right, schedule up for everybody here, especially your IMS responsibilities and other things for you this weekend, Greg.
All right, so in terms of where you hear me on the radio station, I'll be filling in for Kevin Lee on trackside on Friday night. You'll hear myself and Kurt Darling pre-race and post-race for the Grand Prix. So we're on 3 to 4 and then 7 to 8 on Saturday. Then I have PA duty at the track Friday morning from 7:30 till 12:30, and then again on Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 12:30.
It's Greg Rakestraw. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, and his voice, familiar to this station anyway, but even more so coming up in the rest of the month of May. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Greg, I appreciate it, man. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, buddy.
It's Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So if you're doing the math wherever you are right now regarding Game 2, now, we talked yesterday about Mobley with the ankle, Hunter with the thumb, and the continued toe issue with Garland. Now, I saw Brian Windhorst was on earlier today on a station in Cleveland and, quote, typically, if you don't do shoot-around, that's not a good sign. That's Windhorst today. Mobley, Garland, Hunter all missed shoot-around today. However, I do want to keep you informed on this. Don't let this build a false sense of security, because Donovan Mitchell is one of the elite scorers in the NBA and can still go out and carry a team. This is still a very good team. Hey, keep in mind, Cleveland is really a lot of the makeup of the Pacers. There's a great deal of depth, and you feel comfortable with utilizing it. So no factored in false sense of security. We'll continue to follow that story, though, again, right here with both Mobley, Garland, and then add in DeAndre Hunter as well, all missing shoot-around a little bit earlier today. Storylines to follow, but, yeah, don't let that make you feel good, because you still have to go out there and you have to play at a high level and get it done on the road in a hostile environment against a team that's probably a little bit more than salty after what happened in Game 1 on Sunday night. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Me and you on the other side. Chris Denari, top of the hour. Tom Withers from Cleveland coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Guess not.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
James over there. I'm John. Chris Denari coming up at the top of the hour. Greg Rakestraw a little bit earlier. Tom Withers will follow the story of those that miss shoot around. That is significant names and bodies for the Cavaliers in Game 2. Yeah, so far in the 3 Game 1 semifinals in the NBA postseason, all won by road teams. You saw the Knicks do it in Boston in overtime last night. The Nuggets do it in OKC late last night. And the Pacers back on Sunday night did it on the road in Cleveland. Tonight, you get game number 1 with Golden State and Minnesota, the second out west, and we'll see what happens there. Pacers and the Cavs tonight. That tip time's at 7 o'clock. 1 o'clock is your coverage. I checked that. What did I say? 1 o'clock? What did I say that? 6:30 your coverage right here on the Fan. Litzy writes this. We might not sleep from Friday morning until Monday morning, carb day. JMV takeover, 500 Pacers. Can we park the camper on Georgia Street for Sunday night? Oh, this is I'll give the tip of the cap here to Scott Agnes. And again, I'm not trying to jinx anything, and I'm a firm believer of jinxing stuff. So, I mean, knock on wood and say this is just for interesting scheduling purposes, okay? This is not a thought that it's a foregone conclusion and this will take place, James. But according to Scott Agnes, a calendar note, if the Pacers advance to the East Finals, they will host Game 3 on Sunday, May the 25th, the same day as the Indianapolis 500.
Oh, man.
So we shall, and that is maybe one of the more significant sports arousals during a calendar year right there that take place. Yeah, you'll be able to, if you have a clothesline, you can hang your laundry on that one. And no doubt about that. That's Scott Agnes with that bit of information right there. Let's thank you very much. Denari on the other side. Tom Withers live from Cleveland coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. Hey, my advice, don't go anywhere. Join the show at 239-1070 as well. Hour 2's next.
Boom bar. Describe the sound made when a sheep explodes.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Shout out because he's celebrating a birthday today. He has retired, but has left his imprint, his mark significantly as a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. One of the greatest of all time. Bob Seger is 80 years of age today. Anybody here see Bob Seger before? I saw Bob Seger one time in 1985. The fabulous Thunderbirds opened up for Bob Seger at Market Square Arena. One time, and it was a great show. You probably would find very few shows of Bob Seger that people didn't go, oh, wow. 80 years of age today. James over there. I'm John. Thank you for joining us. Chris Denari, the voice of the Pacers, coming up in just a minute. But Evan Sherrill's in studio from Cluster Truck. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you as well. Sorry to make the people wait on Chris.
No, that's all good. What'd you bring in? I know salmon for me, right?
Oh, yeah, salmon and roasted veggies. Wasn't sure about how James celebrated Cinco de Mayo yesterday, so carne asada tacos.
Yeah,
they're phenomenal.
Excellent.
And then some chips and queso as well.
I'm down for that.
Did you guys have an ass-whipping Cinco de Mayo yesterday at Cluster Truck?
It was good. Yeah, this week we have Jose's Enchiladas on the menu. Jose
Nice.
is our chef at Downtown Indy. And for 1 week a year, we put the enchiladas on. His house-made sauce, they're phenomenal. So, yeah, celebrated with some of those.
All right, use the promo code FAN, $5 off a $25 order or more right there. And tonight, with game number 2, I'm sure it's a big night for you, is it not?
Absolutely, yeah. Game 2, look, from personal experience, I know this. Friend hits me up, let's go watch this at the bar. I don't want to get up off the couch, so I'm just going to order Cluster Truck,
Good idea.
get it delivered to the house, crack a beer at home, and have some Cluster Truck while I'm watching the game with my wife. That's the game plan right there.
Yeah, I love it, too, because you walked in and you made reference to my consistent now evolution and turning into the ultimate douchebag at 55. So I think all I need to do to go, like I'm trying to become James Spader right here. So I'm going to put my collar up like it's 1985 right here, too.
I think you look good.
I'm going to go James Spader.
That's like the City Edition Polo Ralph Lauren colorway, too.
Remember how, in the history of douchebags, James Spader's right up there with William Zabka from the 1980s. I mean, you had those typical douchebaggish characters, and those are probably two of the biggest right there. So, right, I guess. Am I getting James Spader? What do you guys think inside the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live? Collar up, Spader-esque right here. I'm just going all the way. All the way.
I love it. I think it's a good look.
I'm just becoming a douche right here. ClusterTruck.com with the great food. I've got the salmon and vegetables tonight. James has the tacos, and you've got ClusterTruck.com for all the orders if you don't feel like cooking this evening, right?
ClusterTruck.com. Download the app. Use code FAN.
You got it. My man, I appreciate you as always. How much we're going to do this until when?
Up in the air right now.
You tell me.
Right now through June, but
through June. Well, you let because
possibly longer with
you got James trained now because James. Hey man, are they coming in? It's a Tuesday. Cluster Truck.
Yeah,
James
for real.
knows he is absolutely trained.
I appreciate that. No, I love talking to you guys, and I just appreciate the time. It means a lot to us. So it's
James
cool
is like my daughter's cat Zeke. It's 3 a.m. He goes, "Hey man, it's time to eat." Hey, wait a minute, it's 3 a.m. You jerk. But no, James is trained now, so I don't know if we can quit. All right?
Okay.
So you know.
Good to know.
By the way, too, now, how do you guys deal with IMS, just out of curiosity, too, as far as the races are concerned? I mean, can you do on-site delivery for anybody that might lob in an order somewhere, too, for that? West Side-wise, I didn't know how that worked.
Yeah. So it kind of depends. So we did a special order for the Juncos Hollinger racing team today for Connor. So they're just outside of the delivery zone west in Speedway, but we did a special order for them. For Burger Bash, we'll have a pickup point set up at the Speedway. So last year we did leave that pickup point on at the Speedway, right? So if you live out in Speedway throughout the month of May, just go over there. I think it was like gate 1, and you can meet your Cluster Truck driver. So we'll have to talk about whether that happens again this year or not, but I would think so, yeah.
And you got that coming up, too. You still got the Bowen Burger, and the Jackson Lee Burger going, and the Connor Daly Burger, right?
Correct, yep. Kevin Bowen, Jackson Lee, Connor Daly Burgers all go through the end of the month. 20% of the proceeds for those to the IU Simon Cancer Center, so that is huge. trying to sell as many as we can, get a big donation to them, and just do great for Kevin Lee's event, Burger Bash on the 19th. Join us out there as well. Free event. You can order Cluster Truck. I just talked to Connor today. Hopefully he'll be there. We'll be giving out autographs, so it'll be cool.
My brother, I appreciate you more than you know.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Evan Sherrill, clustertruck.com. $5 off a $25 order or more right now. Clustertruck.com. Do it for Game 2 tonight. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, guys.
It's Evan Sherrill right there. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he is the voice of the Pacers. Chris Denari joins us. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Cluster Truck, it's awesome. My youngest son used to work for them, so
yes,
they do a great job.
They absolutely do. I want to start here because you have all of this knowledge and obviously experience in the NBA. We have seen today 3 significant pieces of the Cavaliers in front of Game 2 miss shoot-around. How big of a deal is that normal? I'm not suggesting that they're going to miss the game or anything like that. And again, Cleveland's still really good. You got Donovan Mitchell starting right there. But I'm curious, how many times a miss of shoot-around translates into a missing of a game?
Well, it could be significant. I mean, you're just wondering what kind of treatment they're going, and sometimes that shoot-around is just a walkthrough anyway on game day. I mean, different coaches look at it differently. Sometimes you're going half speed, sometimes you're going 3/4 speed. So it's just really hard to tell. I mean, really for anybody, dealing with it and, having done, so many games in the past, it's really when the coach meets with the media before the game when you get a real look. I mean, there's a part of this, John, that could also be gamesmanship. I mean, they are injured. There's no question. The question is how injured are they and can they play? And my guess is Kenny Atkinson will meet with a 7 o'clock tip. It'll be about 5:15. I'd say at 5:15 we'll know unless they say it's a game time decision.
All right, so we'll follow that. Tom Withers of the AP in Cleveland joins us just after 5, so we probably would have that information coming up next hour. The voice of the Pacers, Chris Denari, joins us. Did we witness on Sunday, and I know the circumstances are different, it's the postseason, a road game, Eastern Conference semifinals. Was that the best performance start to finish by the Pacers this season?
I think it's right up there. I mean, I think the one thing that listening to the morning show with Kevin and company and then listening to you the last 2 days, I still think the Pacers can play better. Sure, they shot 53% from 3 with 19 threes. They shot 53% from the field. But, John, they also had an uncharacteristic 17 turnovers leading to 22 Cleveland points. And one of the great strengths of this team in the latter half of the regular season and in that first-round playoff series with Milwaukee was taking care of the ball. They were averaging 10 or 11 turnovers and not giving up many points off turnovers. So I do think they played very well. I thought the way they came out and started the game was impressive for a game one on the road. Very aggressive, sort of making their point early. And even when Cleveland made that little run to take a 4-point lead in the fourth quarter, the Pacers answered again. So I do think from start to finish, it was a very good game. I don't know if it was the best game they played all year. I could go, at Denver in the regular season. There's so many games you can think of, but clearly they played well. But I also think this is a battle-tested team from what they did a year ago in the postseason, from what they did the back half of this season. No surprise with how the Pacers would play on the road in a game one.
Chris, the thing that stood out to me, and this is what you can't count on, and again, you do every game, I watch every moment of every game, is normally I frown and get angry in late clock situations with the Pacers. Normally, and you can look at that widespread across the NBA landscape, it's normally not good when you get late clock and have to chuck one up. But it looked like that they were cool, calm, and comfortable in late clock situations to a level in which I have not seen this season. Now, granted, when you shoot it at that clip, that gives you confidence and a feel good. But that was the thing, probably the most major thing that surprised me was being able to produce in those late clock situations where over the course of the year it's been a struggle.
Yeah, and I think one of the guys that was so good in late clock situations was Andrew Nembhard. Hit a number of threes, a couple of them deep. And to your point with how you don't want to go deep in the clock. Look at the Celtics last night. I don't know how many possessions late they had to settle for a contested three-point shot because they were getting so deep in the shot clock against the Knicks. So you're right. That is something that the Pacers really don't want to do, but I'll give them a lot of credit on Sunday night. They looked very comfortable against the Cavaliers when that shot clock got below 10 and even below 5 with Nembhard hitting some big shots.
One thing I'm curious about, and it stood out to me, is Tyrese Halliburton was more than just the orchestrator. He got his, but I think he did everything, including being re-energized defensively, on the ball defensively, against elite-level NBA offensive players like Donovan Mitchell. I thought he was most comfortable and in that comfortable zone. So my expectation is Kenny Atkinson somehow, some way, especially on the offensive end, tries to take him out of that. How do you think they try to do it in Game 2 tonight?
Well, do they try to do it with personnel? Again, we don't know what the availability of DeAndre Hunter is. We'll find out later. Will they use Isaac Okoro more than they used him in game number 1 because he's an athlete that has some size that maybe they put on Tyrese? But, Tyrese, as you said, looked very comfortable, whether it was getting to the basket, whether it was shooting his three, making sure his teammates got the ball in the right spot, playing at a very, very high level. And you're right. Defensively, he's playing, I think, as well as he's played in his Pacers career. And it didn't just start on Sunday night. We have seen him do other things in other games where I think the coaches challenged him at a certain point during the year to say, hey, we need you to be a little bit better defensively. Doesn't have to be great defensively, but needs to be a little bit better. And Tyrese has accepted that challenge, and that's made this overall Pacers defense better as well.
It's funny about that. This is how I see it. And maybe it's wrong. Maybe my observation is inaccurate. I always thought that defensively he was good at the passing lanes, and he got energized in deflections and potential steals. He just wasn't good at moving his feet and containing off the ball out front, which can be difficult. I thought that maybe that effort that we saw defensively on the ball was as good as we have seen Tyrese Halliburton. I still think that all plays off of the energy he gets by getting into the passing lane defensively. I think that is the portion that makes him a better defensive player and something maybe we haven't consistently seen in the past.
Yeah, I think you're spot on because think about the late situation, fourth quarter on Sunday night. How many times that Donovan Mitchell, they wanted that pick at the top and they wanted the mismatch against Tyrese, and Tyrese accepted the challenge. And I thought did a really good job on Donovan Mitchell, to your point. And so I just think that's a great confidence booster, not just for Tyrese, but for his teammates, knowing that if they get in that situation and they need to make the switch, Tyrese is capable of doing what he did on Sunday night. Because I thought, we can talk about Donovan Mitchell scoring 33, but it took him 30 shots to do it. And there were so many times in that fourth quarter that Tyrese did a really good job in contesting Mitchell, not allowing him to get deep into the paint, but having to settle for mid-range jumpers that he didn't hit.
Is there anything so far that you've seen? I mean, you got 3 semifinal playoff games down in 3 game ones with road teams winning. Anything to that at all?
Well, it's interesting because if you look at that first series between the Pistons and the Knicks, I think 5 of the 6 games were won by the road teams. But to see 3 road teams win game 1 of an Eastern Conference semifinal series and then to see 2 and to see a Western Conference team win as well, I mean, that's pretty amazing, really. I haven't gone back to look at how often that has happened, that the first 3 road teams have won a semifinal series. But again, in that first round series, the Knicks proved that they could win in Detroit. That's how they won this series. And then they win last night in Boston. So we'll have to wait and see with the 4th and final game starting tonight with Golden State at Minnesota with that series to see if the Warriors can make it 4 straight.
Aaron Nesmith, describe him, and I'm talking about the Nesmith on both ends, which is entirely necessary. Everybody's always talked about this team needing a 3-and-D perimeter guy, everybody's always been looking at Aaron Nesmith. I don't think anybody's overlooking him any longer.
No, and to your point, John, why do you always have to go out and get somebody? Now, the Pacers got what they wanted a year ago in Pascal Siakam, and I'm right there with you, on this whole Chad Buchanan and KP, Kevin Pritchard. They made a move this summer. It was not locked that Pascal Siakam would sign. Now, Pascal Siakam wanted to play with Tyrese Halliburton. He wanted to play with Miles Turner, and the Pacers made it happen a year ago. But Pascal was a free agent, and give KP and Chad and company a lot of credit for bringing him in a year ago, but more importantly, re-signing him in the offseason. But to your point, you don't always have to go out and get that. And the Pacers were able to see Aaron Nesmith grow in his role. They knew what his capability was. They watched him in Boston. I know Brad Stevens knew what his capability was, but there wasn't a lot of playing time opportunity, and they made the move to get Malcolm Brogdon. Great acquisition by the Pacers a few years ago, and now we're seeing just how valuable that Aaron Nesmith can be to a franchise. He is everything that the Pacers hoped he would be, and again, they were able to get that 3 years ago.
I know this probably doesn't matter to anybody, and maybe it matters more to me because I host a talk show, but there is nothing that delivers more jackassery than Kevin Pritchard. And you say Chad, too, and company, and Ted and everybody, but we'll say Kevin Pritchard's name. How are you not in the top 12 for NBA Executive of the Year? How has that happened? And I have, to me, just thought it's because, as what you just described, I've said this. I think it's because they ran it back. They ran it back. I mean, you got Sean Marks that got points in a vote. Monty McNair, Sacramento season, Chris, was an absolute stinking disaster as we saw it unfold to the end. He got a vote, but Pritchard's not in the top 12. That's a part of being here, a part of being a fan and covering the Pacers. And to me, that's a part of what they did, which is unconventional, sticking with what you have and believing in it and running it back.
Absolutely. And let's take a step back. Monty McNair got fired. and he's winning.
It's a joke.
He's earning votes in the Executive of the Year. He didn't even make it after they got eliminated in the postseason in the play-in tournament. So, no, I think, what's so exciting about this and, hearing you talk about racers and Pacers and what we always envision in the month of May, I'm really in tune for tonight to see if the Pacers can take a 2-0 lead and really, I think, start to open the eyes of people around the country, people that haven't watched them play. All of a sudden, you talk to somebody that now has watched the Pacers play for a first or second time, and they say, gee, they're really good. Well, yeah, we've been watching it all year.
Yeah.
So I think that's the great thing that can happen out of this. I think they opened some eyes a year ago, but so many people had excuses. Well, Giannis was hurt, and Brunson got hurt, and Anunoby didn't play. They have a chance to really open a lot of eyes across this country as far as the NBA is concerned and how good the Pacers are. Would love to see them take that second step tonight and have a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, I just this is like the Lou Williams mentality of I can't really comment on that. I've just not watched him, so I'm going to go ahead and pick the Bucks in 6 or whatever he did. I mean, all right. So you tell us automatically, why should we spend 5 minutes watching your bull crap then? Seriously, it's stupid.
Right. Oh, I agree. I mean, it's and it's disappointing, especially when a former NBA player that Lou Williams. I know he played with the Clippers, but he was under the radar a lot. I mean, he was a really good player. It's sort of hurtful when a guy like that says he hasn't watched a team play, yet he has this voice that he can use on a talk show. So, again, great opportunity for the Pacers, and I hope they take advantage of it tonight.
Well, and honestly, what jackasses are listed to Chandler Parsons and Lou Williams talking? I mean, come on. Who's doing that? I know that may be a part of what you do, too. I don't want to get you in trouble or anything, but come on. Who's listening to either one talk about anything right there, especially Pacers? I bring this up all the time, Chris. It's why I always compliment what you guys do because you're there every minute, every game. everything that happens, you guys are on top of, just like we are here. And, we're caring about what people around here care about. And as I've often said, nobody else does. If Andrew Luck retires 5 seconds before the start of the NFL season, then there's Mike Greenberg and everybody's swooping in for the big story. It's great. But other than that, nobody cares a damn lick about what we do around here except for us. And that's what makes us all, I think, a valuable resource for those that equally care as much as we do about these products.
No, absolutely right. And that's why you guys have done a great job. And again, you do it thick or thin. You're covering the team in the good times and the bad times, but it's a whole lot more fun to listen in the good times. You talk about that all the time. If the teams are good, well, that audience is right there with you. And so this has been a lot of fun. I know it's disappointing for us that we're done doing games, but I try to stay engaged as I can with the group. I'll be at Game 3 and Game 4 this weekend. I'll watch tonight, but more importantly, I listen to you guys and keep doing the great work.
Let me tell you, I like Spiro Ditas. He comes on the show, probably will come on tomorrow. I like him a great deal, but I don't know what they were doing with the production quality in game number 1 in Cleveland, but hopefully they've changed that up a little bit. Hopefully.
Yeah, there was an audience. So it wasn't just my television.
Nah, man. Every time the crowd cheered, it sounded like you had it on like 25 on volume. I mean, it was going to break some windows out if you're not careful.
Yeah, no, Spiro's great, and Ian Eagle, you have him on all the time, and I'm sure we'll see Ian on a game here or there. But yeah, those guys from a national perspective, while we wish we were doing the games, I'm glad guys like Spiro and Ian, Kevin Harlan, Reggie, all those guys, they do such great work on behalf of the NBA. And if I can't do it, I'm glad I can watch those guys.
So Chris Denari, he's the voice of the Pacers, and he is going to be a fan watching it coming up later on tonight, which we would love to have you guys on board, but understand, and now you can cut loose a little bit in your living room and have a good time doing it. How about that?
All right. And you let me know if you're live somewhere on Friday. Maybe I'll pop on.
Yes. And like I have tried, like we have this relationship with the District Tap, and I'm going, hey, man, on Friday, I think that's the destination location right there. So I am trying my ass off. I know Tommy S. is always packed down at Coach's. He loves having us as well, but I think that it is essential that for a Game 3 Friday, we need to be out somewhere. I'm right there with you on that, too. I'll let you know.
All right. Sounds good.
It's Chris Denari, voice of the Pacers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We'll continue to follow the story. We'll have a resolution to that coming up at around 5:15 or so. That is Mobley and Garland and Hunter. All three missed shoot-around, and you've got 3 injuries right there. Hunter with a thumb, Mobley with an ankle, and Garland that continued big toe situation. He's got the Sergeant Hulka to deal with, the big toe. We'll follow that going into the 5 o'clock hour. Tom Withers will be here, and Chris is right. We are not out anywhere on Friday, are we?
No, we are not.
Man, how can that be? So I'm going to go to Game 3 stone sober? Wait a minute. That can't be. I will not be representing the people if I am not out. Yeah, listen, I know that that's difficult for everybody. There's so much going on. Like, I went upstairs earlier today, and everybody is doing like 19 different things. But being out downtown, that'd be something. How can I go to that game sober?
I mean, you can always.
I'm always sober.
Yeah.
Man.
You could always pop by Coach's on your way there.
Just a slight bit lubricated.
I mean, Coach's is always on the way there. You could always stop by there.
I love Tommy S. and Coach's. Tommy S. and I, the Pacers are undefeated in games, and Tommy S. and I attend. True story.
Really?
And that includes that ridiculous Game 5 where Tommy S. may have walked out. Now, I was a bit saved. I may have thought about leaving, and I got to thank social media for this. I was all set to get pissy and fire off an X message. And then all of a sudden, then they come down 7 with 44 seconds to come back to win it. I go, all right, delete. I didn't even send it.
I can't lie. 'Cause me and my brother went, and we both thought about leaving. We did not, but the entire row and a lot of our section left.
Let me tell you this. These are also undefeated. And I always thought if you're watching via the AAA Membership Lounge YouTube Live right now, you're looking at the Nike Dunk Pacer shoes that are brought to you by Michelob Ultra. And if you remember, Zinc Distributing gave these to me last year, and I was hesitant to wear them because they hurt my feet. And what I come to find out is they hurt my feet because I was too damn fat. So now that I've lost some weight, they no longer hurt my feet. They feel really good on my feet, and the Pacers are unbeaten when I wear these shoes right here.
Well, it sounds like you need to wear those shoes and go to Coach's Tavern on Friday.
So unbeaten, me, Tommy S., and these shoes. And thank you to Zinc. And my friends over there, you know I love them. Jim Jr. and the gang. But yeah, I didn't wear them last year. I go, man, these things, they hurt my feet. And then I just come to find out I was too fat. That's the reason why. Very comfortable shoes. In fact, we wore something like these back in high school. We wore Nike Dunks in high school for a season. Just like these. High tops, but just like these. Quick break, we'll come back. Tom Withers of Cleveland. Yeah, we'll get exactly what's going on with those 3 Cleveland players regarding game number 2. And again, 7 o'clock is the tip time. 6:30 coverage begins later on tonight. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. You and I next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
by Odeon. It's illegal in 9 countries.
It's quite pungent. It stings the nostrils.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, good New Order re-entry right there, James. This is one band that I've never seen that I have to see. Who's with me? Dun, 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 dun. You know New Order, James?
I do not.
Great song.
I'm digging it.
They have a great catalog. They also, I think it was Bernard Sumner that was a part of New Order as well, and he and Neil Tennant of the Pet Shop Boys had this late 80s band called Electronic that has really good stuff in it, too. Just out of curiosity, that all comes from the knowledge you gather from listening to the JMV Takeover on B105.7. And remember, coming up race weekend, we're not too far away. Coke Lot, we are figuring things out. We will be in the Coke Lot. And I have found this out, James. This is true. I have found out that I will have both security and an active toilet.
Really?
Yes. Now, I already knew about the alcohol. And I believe from what I've heard, Twin Peaks is going to be a part of it. So it's going to be good. So I'm going to be doing the show that Saturday night before the 500. My hope is to be on top of the RV doing the show. If not, we'll be not on top of the RV. But I know that Romy and Brent Holverson, they're going to bring some product out there for us from Heaven Hill Distillery. But I do have security and toilet.
Got your own security detail.
Security detail and toilet.
Now, are you going to have like a Secret Service name?
I'm just going to feed my man, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Feed my man. I had security a bunch of different times in Terre Haute when I threw parties at 8th and Crawford when I was in college. We always felt that if we had a security guard, when inevitably the cops, the Terre Haute PD came, that he would go out and say, hey, I got everything handled here.
He would smooth it over.
Yeah, and see what gets you busted, at least what got us busted in those parties in the day, was when some numbnut went out there and took a whiz on the street and the cops rolled by, and that's when they get you.
Mm-hmm.
So there was I think that's what he did when there was a numbnut that wanted to whiz in the street, he would grab him around the neck and say, throw him in a bush or something, or do it in your pants, because you're not doing it here.
So he really wasn't doing a whole lot of actual security. It was mostly stopping people from peeing in bushes.
It may be true that this guy hung out with us until like 6 in the morning, and I believe he may.
So when you say this was security,
he may have been sparking up.
When you say this was security, was this just a friend of yours?
It was not. It was
okay.
It was security.
Actual security.
Yeah, he was packing heat too.
Oh,
he was heat packed. So yeah, I don't even know if you're allowed to do any of that anymore. But I had a party before that where I had the loud music going down the block, and we were playing Belle Biv DeVoe. It was too loud. And the police descended upon our place, and then I went in and shut all the lights off and locked the doors, and they couldn't get in, so they went next door and got in and arrested everybody over there. So, yeah. Security. But no, security and toilets. We are going to have just the most epic night before the 500. I cannot wait. And I got to give a lot of thanks here, too. A lot of people to thank. Now, obviously, Austin, at Braun's Fun Time Campers, they're going to be supplying the RV out there this weekend at the Grand Prix and the infield, and then in the Coke Lot for the greatest spectacle in racing. And that race weekend for the 500, it will be there carb day all the way through Monday. So you'll be able to easily spot us in the Coke Lot. I cannot wait to see you out there. This is going to be open for everybody. I believe that you do have to have wristbands, I think. So you make sure that you get one. And if not, you can ask me, and once I get in there, I'll take mine off, and you can just put it on. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but yeah, once I'm in there, what the hell, I'm in there. So we're good. But that is going to be a blast. And we're going to have a lot of friends. I know Doug Bowles is going to be out there. We should have an endless supply of wristbands, given the fact the Speedway president and IndyCar president's going to be there with us. So he's going to join us, probably some drivers. But it is going to be a blast. I got to thank, again, Austin at Funtime Camper. I should say Bronze Funtime Campers. Stop by Pendleton Pike and ask for Austin and tell him that I sent you. He can provide all the fun. And now that we're getting into that time of year when you can go out, there is no better time than getting a camper, rent a camper or whatever, and drive to Brown County or, drive to Spring Mill or any of the great state parks around here and just have a staycation kind of weekend. And Austin can help you out at Bronze Funtime Camper. So check him out today. He is providing the RV for us for the Grand Prix and for the Indy 500 weekend. And then everybody here, too. Michelle Kiefer has done such an outstanding job of coordinating things. Travis, everybody here, Andrea, got to thank everybody. Sean Copeland, who's the PD B105.7, obviously, Jeff and everybody here on the Fan, Todd Meyer with the Fan. There's a lot of coordination going on. And then we'll have on race day morning our normal show, me and Tony Katz, and it'll be on this station. It'll be on 93 WIBC. And the one true thrill I have every year, this is the absolute gospel, is I get to throw it to Matt Bear Traffic. I never get the chance to do that. So I love on race day morning throwing it to Matt Bear Traffic. And we got that 6 a.m. that starts. And, yeah, if you're asking, I will probably be significantly hungover, but I'll be good to go. The race weekend from Carb Day all the way through. IMS.com to make sure you have your Carb Day tickets to Brett Michaels, All-American Rejects. That will all go over and watch Clayton Anderson play in Speedway. Before Carb Day, we've got that Tavern Tour stop over at Dawson's on Main. I saw that story about Dawson's on Main that didn't have phone service. And somebody had asked, hey, you got to help them out. Well, we're going to help them out. We're going to be there the week leading up to race weekend over in Speedway. But a blast all weekend long. And again, the Coke Lot with Bronze Funtime Campers. You can find us there and party with us on the JMV Takeover. Meantime, 239-1070. We await word. 3 Cavaliers, Mobley, Garland, and Hunter, all missing shoot-around today with a variety of injuries. We'll get into that with Tom Withers coming up after 5. But Todd is up first today at 239-1070. Hello, Todd. How are you?
JMV, how are you doing today?
Todd, are you going to join us out in the Coke Lot for race weekend?
I don't know that I'll be able to be there. I coach a lot of travel ball, and I'm gone all the time. So,
well, that's not the answer I was looking for right there, Todd. I was looking at more of a yes, I'll have my ass there and be a part of it, but that's okay.
Right. Well, I'm sure it'll be a great time, but sorry to get you going already today with my tweet or X post or whatever. We're getting the Executive of the Year conversation going, but I just wanted to call and how ridiculous that is.
Yeah.
Think about it. These are who are the ones that voted on this?
It's the executives, NBA executives.
The executives.
Yeah.
So it's not an anonymous thing like
No.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So you would think that executives would understand how difficult it is to be an executive in a small market where, as Kevin Pritchard has said multiple times, top talent sometimes doesn't want to come to a small market. And it's easy to be like the weatherman in San Diego to be the Lakers GM. Like you have people that always want to go there.
There's no question. Yes.
Go ahead.
No,
well,
it is stupid because you had a guy getting votes that got fired, and his team was an absolute disastrous disappointment in Monty McNair in Sacramento. I mean, it's just how stupid it is. And I will say this. I think for the most part, the reason why there was no recognition given is because the Pacers ran it back. Because they didn't go out and do anything. I guess you can Sacramento, De'Aaron Fox got traded. You bring in Levine. They did some things. I think DeRozan came in was that DeRozan's first year or whatever the case. But it's stuff that absolutely was disastrous. And that's the thing you don't understand. Why that gets recognition, not even in the top 12. That just is a bad reflection on the rest of the NBA. who voted on that. It's a joke.
Well, exactly. And think how the Pacers started this season. Anybody in his shoes and in Chad Buchanan's shoes, we had a terrible start, right?
Yeah.
And there were already calls to, is Tyrese really the answer? And there was how many years have you received calls to get rid of Turner, get rid of Turner, get rid of Turner? And so what Pritchard has done and Buchanan have done is by doing nothing during this time, they wrote it out because they believed in something. And sometimes that takes more, than making these moves and these flashy deals that don't pan out to do anything. If anything, sets you back.
Todd, you bring up a great point. It does take more guts because it's not a normal path. When you say, we believe in these guys, we're going to sign guys, we're going to re-up guys, and we're bringing this group back that got swept in the Eastern Conference Finals, and many felt that their path was helped out because of injuries, significant injuries on other teams. And that is how that is going to be viewed, but it shouldn't be viewed that way. I love it because this has been my thought all along. I told Chad Buchanan, I want to see everybody back. I believe in this group, and they did, and to this point, it has paid off, and unfortunately, I think that that's what bears the brunt of the lack of recognition in what is a ridiculous NBA vote here.
Exactly, and to end this, because I know you got to get on to other things, but when you look, I sit right across in the Pacers games, right across from Pritchard, and he has created for himself an extremely tough job. And I'll say because look at the bench. As a coach, when you see a bench like that love each other, that really genuinely care and they don't care who's in and who's out at the moment. And for Pritchard, he has a tough decisions to make down the road. Because say we lose this series, which I don't think we will, but say we lose this series, I still think it's a success for a year. But there's always change,
sure.
And it's going to be hard to package a deal because these guys are so good. So
they work. You got
JD.
it, Todd. Thank you very much for the call. Even though you can't make it out to the Coke Lot on race weekend, I would agree with you. It takes some serious stones to be in this market and then to tell everybody, hey, believe in this. It's going to be okay. And there's still a lot of work to be done. They're one up in a best of 7 in Cleveland. Regardless, if they're down anybody tonight, this is still going to be a hungry / salty team that is very talented, has an elite level score, and is going to be tough to deal with. And then you come back here for 3 and 4. Those are going to be tough games. So nothing gets easier. Quick break. We'll come back. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Good. So what's the problem?
I don't know.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, number 9 at 239-1070. Rob Thomas, August 22nd, Everwise Amphitheater downtown. If you would like to go to what should be a fine show, number 9 at 239-1070 will go on us. Thank you, Live Nation, our friends at Everwise, everybody around here, too. We are just about set to get underway with the concert season, the outdoor concert season on the way. Rob Thomas coming up in August, number 9 at 239-1070 will go. Qualifying tickets still on the inbound coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. The info on Mobley, Garland, and Hunter with their injuries. No shoot-around earlier today. Is that kind of a tale that will be told as far as what we learn around 5:15? And Tom Withers of the AP over in Cleveland will update us on the state of the Cavaliers entering Game 2. Down 0-1 in the Eastern Conference semifinals, best of 7 with the Pacers. Tip time, 7 o'clock here, 6:30 coverage begins on the Fan. I did also want to hit this. Evan Sidery had this a little bit earlier, that former IU head coach Mike Woodson, and this had been rumored. I think that it's still rumored, but just about said, if not already solidified, he is going to be joining as the lead assistant under Doug Christie, the staff of the Sacramento Kings. Mike Woodson to the Sacramento Kings, and I saw this a little bit earlier today. Rick Simler in Terre Haute had that Sycamore basketball on the road Friday, November the 14th, Indiana State at Cameron Indoor will take on Duke. And according to Rick, the first meeting between the Sycamores and the Blue Devils. You know how much money Indiana State's getting? Probably to get their ass kicked?
How much?
$90,000.
Oh.
$90K for that Friday, November the 14th game at Cameron Indoor against Duke. It's Indiana State. Quick break. We'll come back. Tom Withers of the AP in Cleveland. We'll get you updated on what's going on injury-wise to the Cavaliers and obviously the state of their team going into game number 2. Tom joins us on the other side, and qualifying tickets will give away as well coming up after 5. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
I am the cream, yeah. The cream of the crop. And there is no one that does it better.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, welcome back. Game 2 later on tonight. Shout out to Electronic right there, James. That's Bernard Sumner of New Order and Neil Tennant of Pet Shop Boys. You know who Pet Shop Boys are, James?
I've heard the name before.
Pet Shop Boys. That is Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe. I've never seen them before. I got to see them. A little cross-pollination between two incredible 80s bands right here. Crank this up really quick before I get to Tom because I love this song. '89, I believe, for this. This may have slid just a tad into the 90s, too.
According to this, it's 1991.
Really? Well, that may be sliding more than a tad into the 90s.
It sounds very 80s, though.
No, it would have to, for these dudes right here.
Yeah, for real.
Be hard to be like me, not trying to sound like the 1980s right here. Go, man. It's kind of who I am. Great job, James. Qualifying tickets coming at you later on this hour and a busy rest of the week. But on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, we get down to business right now. Game 2 with the Pacers up a game, best of 7 Eastern Conference semifinals in Cleveland coming up later on tonight. That tip is at 7, 6:30. Coverage begins with Pat Boylan, Mark Boyle, and Eddie Gill right here on The Fan. Tom Withers for the AP covers everything in Cleveland, including the Cavaliers. Hey, Tom, welcome to the show here in Indy. How are you?
Doing well. You had me at New Order.
Yeah. Have you ever seen them in concert?
I have. Yeah, saw them a couple times actually in New York.
I am a huge New Order fan, and I've never seen them.
So I'm a Joy Division New Order guy, and been fighting for them to get into the Rock Hall for years. So,
yes.
Yeah, really good band.
Yeah, I'm a big Joy Division guy too. New Order's so damn hard to see, though. For me, like I mean, you have to go to, major market, New York, LA, Chicago, something like that, because Toronto, they never come anywhere around. Like we're getting Simple Minds this summer with Jim Kerr, and that's a big deal. And Soft Cell, and that's a big deal because they rarely, if ever, come here. So big deal.
Make sure you go.
Yeah, got to go. No doubt about that. Well, that's a good call. Let's go to where we are now. Mobley, Garland, and Hunter. Now, the story was earlier today, there is no shoot-around for them, or at least you didn't see them. How could that translate, or how do you think that's going to translate without maybe having the concrete information right now for Game 2?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. If the Cavs are missing 3 of their top 6 players, that's going to make things even tougher than they are, especially after the way the Pacers played in Game 1. So we did see Garland running on the treadmill, which was probably a good sign, but we did not see any sign of Mobley or Hunter. I don't have to tell you, at this time of the year, everybody's a little bit banged up. Donovan Mitchell is also dealing with a few things. So, the health of the Cavs is paramount right now, and they are certainly not 100%.
Tom, do you have any expectation for especially these 3 tonight as far as participation is concerned?
I think Garland's going to give it a go. I don't think he has any choice at this point. They've tried to let that thing settle down. It bothered him in the final week of the regular season, flared up again in the series against the Heat. They've been trying to give it as much time as they can. But let's be honest, when you're down, 1-0, facing the possibility of being down 0-2 and going on the road, your season is not – if it's not on the brink, it's getting close. And so I think it's going to get to a point here pretty soon where he's going to at least have to give it a shot and see what he's got. In terms of Mobley, sprained ankles can be tricky. So I would think they would run to that as possible. And then Hunter, I think it comes down to can he be effective playing with one hand? Can they put him out there in spurts and play a little bit of defense? But a dislocated thumb is not fun and very difficult for a basketball player to deal with.
It's Tom Withers at T Withers AP. He covers everything in Cleveland in front of Game 2 later on tonight, with the Cavaliers hosting the Pacers, with the Pacers up a game in that best of 7 Eastern Conference semifinals. Did I don't think anything's going to surprise the coach of the year in the NBA, and rightly so for Kenny Atkinson. I think he is as good, and he's had some down times and had to deal with some personalities, but he fits like a glove, I would think, in Cleveland as he got the coach of the year honors earlier today. But did anything kind of sideswipe them just a little bit? And I guess I would start with the level of shot making that they saw from the Pacers in game number 1 on Sunday. Was that a bit of a sideswiper for them? Were they expecting something like that?
I don't think anybody's expecting them to go 19 of 36. I think what maybe had caught them off guard was, just everybody hit, right? I mean, it was from 1 through 10, all 1 through 8 or 9 or whatever it was on the roster. Everybody was knocking down threes for the Pacers. Now, the problem the Cavs had, especially in the first half, is that their defensive rotations were slow. They were leaving guys wide open on the perimeter. It's been an issue all year for that team. They have not guarded the three-point line very well. So clearly that's had to be a major adjustment coming out of game 1. In terms of that, I don't think anything else really surprised them. I don't have to tell you and the fans out there in Indianapolis, the Pacers are going to make you play their game, right? They're going to play at a pace, pardon the pun, where you're going to get you uncomfortable. They're going to race up and down. The ball goes in the basket at their end. Well, they're going to take it out and get it up the court and try to get up a shot up quickly. So they're going to try to wear you down, especially throughout a series. So, again, I don't think Kenny Atkinson was caught by surprise by anything necessarily, but definitely some major adjustments had to take place.
I thought this is what I saw in game 1, and especially when the Cavaliers mounted that comeback in the third and then quickly took advantage and took a lead. The Pacers and their pace of play, after makes, and let's say, the Cavaliers are on a run, scoring, and, they're flexing and feeling good, and the crowd is going crazy and incredibly loud. Yeah. And then the Pacers inbound the ball, and within 5 seconds, get back the 2 or the 3 they just gave up. I happen to think that is detrimental to attitudes on the basketball floor if you're the Cavaliers. I thought that maybe we saw that take a little bit of a toll, and honestly, Tom, that's what the Pacers want to do.
No, you're exactly right. I can remember that one sequence where I think it was Siakam got behind, to your point, defense an easy layup, and that is just so disheartening. But I'll go back again, though, to the perimeter defense. I think that's the thing that really was kind of uncharacteristic for the Cavs, just from the standpoint that they were leaving guys wide open. And, I think back to the third quarter, that last possession where Max Strus has just a terrible closeout on Miles Turner. Gives him a head fake. He goes flying by. Turner hits the 3. I think that puts the Pacers up 92-90 after 3 quarters. So it was those little things, and all those little details add up, especially in a playoff game, especially when your margin for error is razor thin, and especially when you're dealing with injuries. And, the other big thing I'll tell you, John, that really hurt the Cavs was no Darius Garland on the floor. And I think that's the one thing that can maybe kind of combat that quickness and that pace that the Pacers like to play with, is that you have a guy like Garland out there who's another playmaker who can, do a lot of things offensively. If he can be a defensive liability, there's no question about that. But, Darius Garland is an all-star for a reason, and they sorely missed him in game 1.
2 things that I would not expect later on tonight in game 2, regardless of the personnel availability, is one, you're going to get the high volume in Mitchell, but I don't think you're going to get 50 between Mitchell and Jerome in shot attempts. And the other thing is, you mentioned how the Cavaliers take the Pacers or adjusted the Pacers in their offense. I thought Tyrese Halliburton was incredibly comfortable in everything he did on the offensive end. How do they shake that up defensively if you're Kenny Atkinson and the Cavaliers?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. That's a great point. He was way too comfortable, and I think what you may see maybe are some blitzes, some ways of trying to maybe get the ball out of his hands. He is obviously the Pacers' top playmaker. 13 assists in game 1 is terrific, and what a good player. And I'll tell you one thing I'm glad to see there, John, is that at least the Pacers are getting themselves to a chance to shine on the national stage. In my mind, they have been one of the most underrated teams all season. You know better than I do that they got off to a bad start, but they've really straightened themselves out. And if you look at their record over the last 35 games of the regular season and the Cavs, pretty comparable. So, it's been good to see. So I think Atkinson has got he's got a choice to make. He's going to have to try to get the ball out of Halliburton's hands, more regularly. Fortunately for him, he's got bigs that can play on the perimeter, much like the Pacers. But, Evan Mobley and Jared comfortable in space. And so I think you'll see a little bit more of them trying to, come out and either blitzing them or doing what they can to get the ball out of Halliburton's hands earlier in possessions.
Well, it's funny with the NBA executive, and obviously Kobe Altman is due with that particular honor, but Kevin Pritchard not in the top 12 is completely and utterly ridiculous with the group that got votes and points in that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't put a lot of stock in postseason awards. I think guys around the league and coaches and executives know who is doing a good job and who's not. And yeah, I'm with you. Sometimes I kind of laugh at the way those things are skewed, and obviously there's bias out there and what have you. So again, I don't put a whole lot of stock into postseason awards.
Yeah, I think Altman. What did he come in? I know Sam Presti was and that's obvious too. And Oklahoma City was executive of the year, but I think Altman was right there too, right?
I think Altman finished second, yeah.
Yeah, so it makes sense. You have the coach that finishes first and the executive that finishes second, too. Donovan Mitchell obviously could really get to the rim whenever he wanted, but a high volume of threes that weren't going down. How does he adjust his hopefully more productive, in the case of the Cavaliers, play? I mean, he had 30-plus, but it was a lot of shot attempts that he took. How does he adjust his approach tonight offensively?
It was, and I don't expect the Cavs to shoot. I mean, it's been rare this year where the Cavs have been outshot by 10 three-pointers by a team, right? 19-9 by the Pacers. So I don't think you're going to see Donovan shooting more threes. Obviously, 1 of 11 is not a good number. I did detect early on that it seemed like Donovan recognized that the Cavs were a little bit jittery and a little bit out of sorts in the first half. So if you saw, he was kind of taking the ball to the hole early on, which is not necessarily his style. He tends to let the game kind of come to him, and then you see those kinds of explosions in the third and fourth quarter. And you saw it in the third. I just felt like he almost wore himself out during that really nice stretch he had in the third quarter the other night. So, Donovan's a smart player. He's going to allow the game to come to him. The big adjustment I think offensively you're going to see from the Cavs is that I think you're going to see more stuff run through Evan Mobley. Now, everybody has waited for this kid to become the player that he finally did this year. There's no question about what he can do on the defensive end. It's more about when Evan Mobley gets the ball and he's 12 feet from the basket, can he drop his shoulder, put the ball on the floor, and get to the rim? He's great at finishing on lobs, just like Jared Allen is, but you and I could do that, right, with nobody guarding you. It's about, can Mobley, shoot that little short jumper from the baseline? Can he hit the mid-range shot? Is he comfortable enough to come down and shoot the open three and knock it down? To me, that's what we're going to have to see from the Cavs tonight if they're going to even this series up, is Evan Mobley to have more of an impact on the offensive end.
Are the Cavaliers, do they want to play fast? Are they comfortable in playing at that pace? And not letting the Pacers dictate terms on this, but are they comfortable playing at a fast pace like that?
Unquestionably. I mean, they're the highest scoring team in the league this year. They can fill it up with anybody. I think the problem the Cavs had the other night was I thought there were a lot of rush threes. I mean, if you watched the Celtics last night, I thought it was a very similar situation for them. If you're going to be, taking it's one thing to take a lot of threes, but when they're bad threes, that's when you get into trouble. And I thought the Cavs ran into that the other night. I thought Ty Jerome and Max Strus both forced up threes early in possessions where, a swing along the perimeter would have served them a lot better. So I think the Cavs are comfortable playing at any style. What I did think in game one was that the Pacers were clearly the more physical team. There was an assertiveness and an aggressiveness and a force that they played with that I don't think, quite frankly, that the Cavs match. So I think you're going to see a little bit more of that tonight with them. And I'm not saying that to be, they don't have to get, pushy inside or what have you, but it's in terms of when you come out on a screen, things like that. I think you're going to see a more physical Cleveland team than you did in game one.
What was the fan reaction? It was such a great crowd. It was as loud a crowd as you were going to hear. What's been the reaction in the past nearly 48 hours?
Yeah, a little bit of shock because, like I said to you earlier, it was an uncharacteristic performance for this Cavaliers team. I mean, they've been great all year, right? They won 64 games, basically kind of ran away from everybody in the East, were really unchallenged. Then obviously they have, they steamroll through the first round and sweep the Heat in what was the most lopsided playoff series in NBA history. So I think the fans were a little bit shocked. I think they feel a little bit better, though, after seeing, both the Celtics and the Thunder lose their opening games last night on their home court. So I think as everybody's breathing a little bit easier. And, if they were ever to go down 0-2, the Cavs have shown this year they've been a really good road team. as good as they've been at home, they've been equally as good on the road. They don't want to put themselves in that situation. So I think you're going to see a Cavalier team come out tonight, like I said to you before, playing with a little more aggression, a little more assertiveness, and really trying to take this to the Pacers early on.
So you wouldn't consider this at all a Game 2 must-win in Cleveland tonight?
No, I hate to use that word, but yeah, it's about as close to must-win as you can get. You don't want to fall behind, especially as well as the Pacers have played at home. And obviously the Pacers are playing with a confidence that they didn't necessarily have earlier this season, but they did show last year in the postseason getting themselves to the Eastern Conference Finals. So, yeah, clearly you don't want to fall behind 0-2 to this team.
I will tell you this. If you want to take a cue from a regular season game, there's not much you can do with the final two. And I know the first two, you had injuries, certainly, that both teams are dealing with. But there's a precedent set to where, the Pacers win on the road, and then Cleveland comes here a couple of nights later in a home and win. So at least at that level, we have seen that before, if even any Cleveland fans are deciding to jump off the ledge right now about anything.
They're not quite there, but they're definitely in the elevator, that's for sure.
So when are we going to find out about the health and participation of these three guys? Like right now?
Well, it's gone from, being questionable. Kenny Atkinson had said the word doubtful yesterday when he spoke about Hunter and Mobley. Now it's trending more towards game time decision. So
okay.
I think you're going to see all three guys at least, give it their best during warm-ups, see how they feel, and kind of go from there. And like I said, I think seeing Garland today on the treadmill was somewhat of an encouraging sign because it shows that at least he's doing the cardio and he's pushing the toe as hard as he can. Difficult injury to deal with.
I know you also cover the Browns. I did want to ask this because every time Shedeur Sanders does anything, it's going to be a national storyline. Is that a distraction at all? And can that be a distraction for a team that has dealt with a major quarterback distraction already? Does it even itself out anywhere here?
You're talking about a team that's had Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, and Deshaun Watson in the last 10 years. So distractions are what they do best. So, I think from the coaching standpoint, Kevin Stefanski has kind of seen it all here in a very short time. So I don't expect it to be a distraction. Now, that's not to say that it's not going to be a media circus with Shedeur, and it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how.
Yeah, it will. No doubt about that. Hey, Tom, I appreciate you coming on the show. We'll probably check in later on the week once we get to Game 3 up here, okay?
Sounds great. Have a good one.
Tom Withers right there at T. Withers AP with the latest. He is calling it workout, pregame workout, game time decision for those three Cavaliers. He sounded like he felt really good about Darius Garland giving that a go. You do wonder about this. With a toe injury and with a guy that is so significant with his quickness advantage, the effect that's going to have. And again, he saw him and he reported him running on a treadmill earlier today. So he expects Garland. It sounds like he expects Garland to give it a go. But he kind of mentioned both Mobley and Hunter would be really tricky on how the ankle with Mobley and the thumb response. I mean, he mentioned Hunter as, just coming in and being some sort of defensive guy. We'll see. But it appears, according to Tom Withers, that they will at least give it a workout before the game warm-up go and then see what happens. We'll follow that here in the next hour. A little bit of anything goes coming up after 6, and then we'll get you set for game number 2. Pat Boylan, Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill. Got you covered. I know Pat's going to be here in studio, and then Mark and Eddie in Cleveland. Game 2, Pacers up in the best of 7 by a game. And game 2 tonight, tip times at 7. I did want to remind you of this, and I mentioned because I think it was Scott Agnes that had this a little bit earlier, that if the Pacers were to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals, we would have on race day of the 500 a Pacers and Racers situation. Now, I think we've seen that twice, right? The last time we saw it, you guys remember what took place. Again, long way to go, and I'm not suggesting that it's in the cards whatsoever, but at the very least, the schedule for the Eastern Conference Finals has it on that particular day. We'll hit that, take your calls, and a lot more coming up on the other side. Do not go anywhere. The stream, the app, it's HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Thank you guys for listening. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Tom Withers, Cleveland, AP, moments ago. Tony East had this. Kenny Atkinson says the questionable status remains for Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and DeAndre Hunter. As good Kate Bush right there, by the way. Stranger Things brought that back.
Yes, it did.
What was that, like 2-3 years ago now, and this was the biggest of deals all over again?
Yeah, it was this and Master of Puppets that had a rerun through the cultural zeitgeist.
Yeah. There he is, exactly. There's a duet that Kate Bush does with Peter Gabriel from his album So in 1986. It's called Don't Give Up, and it is an awesome solo. And I believe, if I remember accurately, I went to something called WOMAD Fest back in 1993, September of 93, at the then Deer Creek Music Center. And Peter Gabriel was the headliner, and the late Sinead O'Connor was also a part of this group, this festival, this WOMAD festival, and they did that song together. Sinead O'Connor was incredible. I mean, you could say what you want about her, and maybe because of the SNL thing, you didn't like her or whatever, but the voice was absolutely unmatched. And it was so much more than just Nothing Compares to You. 1993, WOMAD at the then Deer Creek Music Center. Was an awesome time. Lenny Kravitz, first time I ever saw Are You Gonna Go My Way perform live. That was incredible. PM Dawn, Crowded House, Stereo MCs. Remember the song? The group James, it was called Laid. Remember the song Laid? It was about Laid, too, yeah.
Not ringing a bell right here.
She only, when she's on top, yeah. The neighbors complaining about the noises above.
Laid by James?
Laid by James.
Interesting.
Yes. Thought you might listen to that. A great re-entry. Kate Bush right there. All right, Kenny Atkinson mentions that Hunter, Garland, and Mobley are all questionable in his pregame conversation meeting with the media, and that's what Tom Withers had talked about, who just joined us. He expects them to go through warm-ups and to be game-time decisions. It seemed like that he was more positive about Garland giving it a go, a real go, than he was even Mobley or Hunter. He kind of described Hunter as maybe being more of suited with the thumb situation for defense. None of the players, according to Atkinson, did any work this morning. None of the three. Kenny Atkinson continues, quote, they were more aggressive, talking about the Pacers, more forceful, but I do think there were 3 calls we questioned to the league. I'm going to try to simplify this. In my opinion, all 3 plays were excessive in nature. So let me guess, it was the Matherin call, the block, and then the challenge and the call on the floor, which I thought was the turning point in that game without question, was upheld. And then the Turner, it was when Allen goes in and dunks, and then Turner had the hand on the chest, and Allen went down on his tailbone. What was the third? What was the third? I can't come up with it right here. 3 plays excessive in nature. This is called, everybody, gamesmanship. This is where you say, well, this is the reason why we lost, but we're also getting hosed in the process. This is like out of the Phil Jackson playbook. Hey, we lost because I'm not going to make excuses, but now here are an assload of excuses. Right out of the playbook. 7 o'clock, that tip time later on tonight. Mandika Diggler, she did, and it was incredible. What is the other one? Emperor's New Clothes, or what? Incredible stuff. The late Sinead O'Connor. All right, 239-1070 is the number. Patrick is up next today. Patrick, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, buddy. How you been?
Great, Patrick. Go ahead.
Hey, so is this Anything Goes?
Not yet, but you can make it that way if you want. I mean, hell, we're almost there.
Well, so 2 weeks ago you were talking about The Last of Us.
Yes.
You had a lot of questions about it, and I think I got some answers for you.
I need some answers because I don't watch it anymore. That what's his name?
Pedro Pascal?
Yeah, Pedro. I was going to call him Pablo again. Pedro Pascal's no longer in it, so I'm done with it.
I think you should. First off, there's going to be a ton of flashbacks.
Okay.
So, and the story is not about Joel or Pedro. It's about love and revenge and hate and all that stuff, everything. Not everybody's a good guy, not everybody's a bad guy. But you asked if there was 2 seasons or there was going to be more. There's going to be at least 3 seasons guaranteed. And at the end of the second season, it's going to switch and show Abby's perspective the entire 3rd season.
Okay.
So I guarantee you will enjoy the show. It is one of my favorite video games I've ever played. And Pedro will still show up.
But they've even taken him off the credits at the beginning, haven't they?
Yes, but they're doing that as like a little, hey, he's not in this episode, but he will be in other episodes.
So will they won't give him top billing anymore? He'll just be in guest stars, Pedro Pascal at the end on the credit roll?
I don't know what they're going to do with that, but I do know that it's going to be a lot of flashbacks because there's going to be a lot of Joel and Ellie, why they were fighting, all that stuff.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you what, when he got off, they left no doubt. You know what I mean? I go, geez.
That was the game. That was the game, man.
That chick left no doubt. Now, I haven't watched the last 2 because I was a little pissy. I didn't watch the last 2 episodes. And obviously, the Pacers are playing opposite on Sunday night, so I didn't watch it. I have them both on DVR right now. So did they get any revenge on that chick that off Pascal?
That's what they're building to.
Okay.
But I don't want to do the spoilers at all, but it's phenomenal. It's an amazing story.
I really liked it. And then, man, I just thought, and they just left no doubt. Once he got, like, the 9-iron out, I go, what the hell? Wait a minute.
That's
gotta be a little
exactly
bit
how
of
it
doubt.
happened in the game,
All
and I
right.
was screaming at the television.
All right.
I guarantee you.
Gotcha. All right, Patrick, I appreciate the update. I got 2 saved. I just haven't watched them yet.
You should. Give
Gotcha.
it a shot.
Thank you, Patrick.
Right.
I appreciate it.
Bye.
All right. Yeah, that's The Last of Us. I was pissy when Pascal got off. They go, I'm done with this. This sucks.
I'm just glad you remembered the name of the show.
Yeah, I didn't call it The Rest of Us.
Yeah, or whatever you've been calling it.
This is more from Tony East regarding Kenny Atkinson. Quote, they were more aggressive, more forceful, but I do think that there were 3 calls that we questioned to the league. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. Atkinson talking more about DeAndre Hunter's foul committed by Benedict Mathurin. And Mobley now with Miles Turner as his landing space. So, okay. So they question Mathurin. That's where, if you remember, there was some Mathurin-Hunter dialogue after that regarding Hunter's thumb. Mobley with Turner in his landing space. And this is right from the NBA coach playoff handbook. Once the NBA defined the line of excessive for fouls and thought that there was some that were over the line. So what this is trying to tell you is he wants his team to go to the free throw line like 50 times later on tonight. And as I mentioned, the third, so we got them all right now. The third was the Jarrett Allen dunk. So 2 involved Miles Turner. 1 was in the landing space with Mobley. The other was the Allen dunk. And then obviously he took issue with the challenge that, in fact, they lost because the block on Mathurin on Hunter was upheld. And really what we're trying to do here is get the Cavaliers to the free throw line like 50 times. That's all that's happening here. They were more forceful than us, but here's how they did it, and they were dirty, and the NBA, you got to do something about it. Right out of the Phil Jackson handbook. But I'm telling you, I was bummed. When Pascal got off, I thought, geez, can you just let up a little bit here? What the hell? Now you got to get up you got to get the 9-iron out. Josh, before the breaks at 239-1070. Hello, Joshua.
Hi, JMV.
Hey, buddy, what are you doing?
Not much. When the Pacers first made the playoffs back in the 90s, I remember they updated us at Washington Square and all that.
Yes.
When it was at No Theater, there was a TV in the lobby, so when people were so excited about the Pacers back then doing good.
Yes, that is awesome. Hey, Josh, have you always listened to this show, or did you start listening when I started doing the JMV Takeover and you called?
I started listening to JMV Takeover.
Oh, man. This makes me so happy. I am so happy you've called this show, Josh. I really enjoy you listening every Saturday night, and thank you for calling.
Thank you.
That's Josh, right? That's excellent. Josh calls every Saturday and always in the 6 o'clock hour. Man, that's awesome.
Did he have a request last Saturday?
I think he said, this is an Eddie's weekend. Will you give me a Larceny Bourbon double shot, which is awesome, of your favorite 2 new wave songs.
Oh, I got you.
And one of them, I played the title track to Unforgettable Fire by U2 from 1984. Now, Josh is a good dude right there. I'm glad. See, we got somebody from the JMV Takeover who now listens to this show. Matt Richter says you have to say spoiler alert before you start talking about all that stuff. We've already seen it, though. It was like 3 weeks ago. Skivvy says the officials tonight, Tony Brothers, David Guthrie, and Nick, what's his name, Butthurt or Buckturt? Buttshirt?
Definitely not the first one.
Butchert. It's not Buckturt. Obviously, the one you're going to look at 2 here. David Guthrie was a part of the crew that completely botched the call, if you remember, in Detroit with the Pistons and the Knicks in their first-round series. I'll be honest with you. With the Bucks, when the Pacers got Tony Brothers, I thought Tony Brothers was really good in handling the jackassery. So let's predict tonight in what Kenny Atkinson is trying to do as he is lobbying to go to the free throw line with his team 50 times. And the Pacers are being way too physical, man. If Tony Brothers obliges, can we be happy with Tony Brothers 2 times in a row? Seriously, I thought Tony Brothers was fine. Now, a lot of you thought all these technicals and as easily as he was handing stuff out was bad, but I found no issue in that Bucks first-round series when Tony Brothers was officiating. What do you think? Brothers tonight. See, Ray and Indy says Brothers hasn't bothered me in these playoffs. He doesn't take any blank. Listen, Atkinson's trying to dictate some terms out of that whole Phil Jackson playoff playbook. Believe me, we've gone through that a number of times around here. He's lobbying for more foul calls right now. Will Brothers and crew oblige? It's out of curiosity. All right, quick break. We'll come back. 239-1070 is that number. We've got a little bit left in the show and a little bit, about 8 minutes if anything goes, coming up here after 6 o'clock as well. 6:30 coverage begins here. That's the pregame show. Pat Boylan, Mark Boylan, Eddie Gill. That tip time tonight is at 7. And again, for Mobley, Garland, and Hunter, game time decisions. They're going to go out there, see how things are going, and see what happens after that. Now, Tom Withers from Cleveland joined us, and he felt really confident that Garland's going to give this thing a go with his Sergeant Hulka. And then we'll find out a little bit more about the thumb of Hunter, whether or not, he can get shot, whatever the case might be, what is going to affect with that thumb situation. And he seemed really concerned about Mobley and the ankle and Hunter and the situation with the thumb more so than he was about Garland and his big toe or his Sergeant Hulka for you Stripes fans out there. Quickly, we'll come back. Pacer thoughts and more. Pacers up a game, best of 7, Eastern Conference semifinals. You got 2 games on tap. A game 1 with Golden State and Minnesota later on tonight. To this point, You have 3 game ones in the books in these semifinals and 3 road wins. Can the Pacers continue that trend later on tonight? Tip time at 7. Back with you next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Certainly, but
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
There's Unforgettable Fire right there. Man! My favorite U2 song right here, James. Title track to the 84 album, The Unforgettable Fire, James. When they were here at Lucas Oil Stadium a number of Septembers ago, they played this, and they had the window on the roof open, if memory serves. It was a great night. It was awesome. Great show. Beck opened up for U2.
That does sound like a good show.
It was a hell of a show right there.
I'm not even a U2 guy, but that sounds good.
Nah, this was awesome. This is a great song. You know, I mentioned this, by the way, too. We have qualifying tickets to give away. Number 9 at 239-1070. Give that a go. We'll send you out there on us for qualifying. We've got a lot coming up. Grand Prix this weekend. The Bronze Fun Time Camper that we're going to have for the month of May. Thank you, Austin at Bronze. And find that out on Pendleton Pike. It will be located in the infield coming up this weekend. I'm going to go out and hang out there for a while. And then, of course, for race weekend, the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indy 500, we will be in the Coke Lot. Now, I have been told that we're going to need wristbands for the Coke Lot. But we're going to be in there. And I've also been told that we will have security and toilet. The JMV takeover is going to be live the night before the 500. Thank you to Bronze Fun Time Campers on Pendleton Pike. Again, ask about maybe just putting something together for a weekend or you head out with the family or whatever, do a staycation. Those things are perfect. Well, thank you, Austin. And tell Austin that I sent you out there, too. And hopefully I will see you all with us in the Coke Lot. It's going to be there from Carb Day all the way through. So, yes, fun time indeed with Bronze. Coke Lot, 500 weekend. And, too, if you remember, we've got our Tavern Tour stop. That's on the Thursday, right, before Carb Day? Dawson's on Main, me, Brent Halverson, Romy, Heaven Hill Distillery. Get to see our good friend Chris Hill, Dawson's on Main. And then, as I mentioned, too, you've got Brett Michaels and the All-American Rejects tickets available now. That is for Carb Day. But later on that evening, they have the Block Party, which is an annual event in Speedway on Main Street. I know Clayton Anderson's going to be a part of that. We'll be there hanging out. It's going to be an absolute blast all weekend long. Cannot wait to see you. Wheatley checks in with that U2 concert was awesome. Indeed, it was. Absolutely awesome. Skivvies took me to that U2 show. It was incredible. That song they performed, The Unforgettable Fire, I thought was the best of the evening. Jennifer chimes in. Hopefully we don't have to revisit that Slick Leonard clip about Tony B and the playoffs. I still have it just in case. I thought Tony Brothers was just fine in that Buck series. But you can tell that Kenny Atkinson is lobbying. Like, here was Rick Carlisle's response. So Kenny Atkinson was quoted as saying in the pregame presser, they were more aggressive. So let's say, hey, they were more aggressive. More forceful. Hey, they were more forceful. But, and here it comes. And he wants the whistle. But I don't think there were 3 calls that we questioned to the league going to try to simplify this. In my opinion, all 3 were excessive in nature. And he was talking about 2 involving Miles Turner, landing space against Mobley, the hand on the chest, arm on the chest of Allen when he went up for the dunk and fell on his tailbone, and then Matherin the block on Hunter. In all 3 of those situations, Hunter, the thumb injured there, Mobley in the ankle landing space, and I think that Allen hurt his ass in when he fell down, but he's okay. More foul calls, and Rick Carlisle describes that as protecting his guys. And that's what Kenny Atkinson, the coach of the year in the NBA, is doing. Quote, this whole notion about us being this overly physical team, I'm smiling about it a little bit. We're not a big bruising team. Carlisle continues before the game today. He's protecting his players. That's a big part of the coach's job. There's so many events in the NBA game. They turned in 3 plays. The other team is notified. We were notified. Carlisle goes on to say they submitted plays during the Milwaukee series, says Allen's play was indeed a foul on Turner that wasn't called. That was a whole ass-in play. If guys are missing games or not 100%, that disappoints the hell out of us. You don't want this to be perceived as easier. I understand where he's coming from completely, Carlisle added. I'm sure everybody is very sensitized right now to everything. This is an intense game. There you go. By the way, too, Hunter, Mobley, and Garland game time decisions. It sounded with Tom Withers earlier from Cleveland that joined us that he felt more confident about Garland giving it a go than anybody. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Some Anything Goes coming up on the other side. If you so desire, about 8 minutes of that. We'll lock into it as well and then get you set for the Pacers. Pacer pregame, bottom of the hour, tip time, game 2 in Cleveland, Eastern Conference semifinals coming up at 7. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Asses whipped by a bunch of damn nerds.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, you guys ready to go? A little anything goes, about 8 minutes or so. If you guys want to line it up, I'll try to get to you ASAFP. Pacers, Cavaliers game 2. Pacers got that game 1 win. It was far from a steal. That was a dominating performance. And tonight we shall see more of a flash in the pan moment, or are we even talking and understating the higher level relevance of this Pacer team? If you're able to put this Cleveland team down 0-2, come back home for 3 and 4 Friday and Sunday. Mobley, Garland, and Hunter, game time decisions. Again, Tom Withers of Cleveland, the AP, joined us earlier. It sounded like he expected Garland to give it more than a go than Mobley. He was a little bit skeptical about both Mobley, I should say, with his ankle, and then Hunter with a thumb. And, of course, the Sergeant Hulka belongs to Darius Garland. And then you got some back and forth going on. Some gamesmanship from Kenny Atkinson. All of a sudden, the Pacers are this incredibly physical team. What a team of ass whippers. The Pacers, they're so physical, I don't know how we can deal with it. Their physicality. That's not what the league is about. That's like a first. We got that and more. Busy show for you tomorrow with a recap. Colts Daily Update coming up here in about 6 minutes. Meantime, 239-1070, we go to Anything Goes, and look who's here. He is Fulton. Hello, Fulton.
Hello, John. How are you?
Fulton, I'm great. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Are you coming to the Pensacola musical next week?
The musical is next week. My schedule is pretty packed right now, Fulton, but I'm going to try to work a little magic.
Okay, sounds great. Hopefully we'll see you on Friday.
Do you have something else for me here?
Well, I haven't told you this, but I'm going to be at Earth, Wind & Fire concert in July.
And you're going up on stage with your ukulele.
That's
because
true.
of the ukulele Fulton remix of September by Earth, Wind & Fire. Now, what's this 500 national anthem thing? What's that?
Well, they said I'm in the national anthem to do the singing because they entered me in the contest.
Oh. Now, what's this about? Exactly. What contest did you enter? Can I enter it too? Can I enter to be in a contest to sing?
You could. You could.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, that's probably not what I'll do, but I'm just kind of, what contest was this?
I think it's like the 500 contest.
Oh, all right then. Well, we'll keep track of you, Fulton, and certainly we've all got to go to Earth, Wind. I mean, everybody that's ever listened to a moment of the JMV Takeover, we have to go see Earth, Wind & Fire and you up there. There's no doubt.
Yep. So
you and your ukulele. Right. I hope your mom had a great birthday, buddy.
She did. Yep.
Great.
And I will see you next Friday.
You got Fulton is right there. His ukulele on stage with Earth, Wind & Fire.
Sounds like a hell of a time.
So Philip Bailey and Fulton. I tell you what, maybe they can do like Easy Lover and he can do the Phil Collins part.
Oh, there you go.
I think I'd dig that. Jonathan is next at 239-1070. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you. I was just a little concerned after the draft about the Colts safety situation. I don't know about Anarumo's system or how many safeties he usually uses,
yes,
but it doesn't seem like they addressed it afterwards. Is Cross just going to back up Bynum, or are they just going to rely on all the safeties they
Cross, Cross and Bynum. I will say this, he goes defensive back crazy. He's really heavy there. That's why you saw them go out and spend big money on Bynum at free safety and Ward at cornerback. So you're going to see Cross and Bynum out there as starters And then you're going to see probably a number of dudes because he is defensive back crazy here. So that's why they put so much of a focus and so much money in free agency into those two dudes, both being Bynum and Ward.
Okay, yeah, they just have to stay healthy, I guess, because I think Daniel Scott's still on the team, but he got hurt 2 years in a row. He's never even played.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Rodney Thomas is still a part of the depth chart as well right now, and we'll see. And then Justin Wally at corner was a guy that they brought in too. Womack is still a part of it too. Ballantyne was a guy that they brought in, I think, via free agency as well as far as secondary is concerned. So yeah, he's a nickel. So they brought in a number of guys in the secondary because defensively that is how heavy. It's not so much linebacker heavy at all. You're going to see Franklin and then a mix and match and. Probably, Carlos will be a part of that as well, but it'll be a lot of defensive backs. And again, that's the reason why they paid so heavily for a couple of guys in free agency, which is not normally the protocol for Chris Ballard and the Colts.
Yeah, I knew Anarumo likes having only two linebackers out there. It just seems like they over-focused on corner and under-focused on safety.
And if you remember, he had his best years, certainly, and I think Jesse Bates was kind of a gauge for that when he had, those seasons, or certainly a top-notch season in Cincinnati as their coordinator. Jesse Bates was a part of it, and then it kind of started to fall apart when he was losing guys, and Bates to Atlanta was one of those. So they're trying to, I think, revisit those days when he had a really top-notch supply of guys in the secondary and at both safety and at corner. That's what you're looking at with two high-priced dudes they brought in via free agency.
Yeah, poor Burrow was playing against his own defense. That was sad.
Jonathan, anything else?
Oh, that's all. I appreciate it.
You got it, Jonathan. Thank you very much. Jeff writes this. Kenny Atkinson is just trying to get the NBA's attention with these injuries. Honestly, this might be the dirtiest tactic I've ever seen as a head coach. Very infuriating. This is Jeff. Don't take it personally here at all. This is right out of the NBA playoff, and especially the NBA playoff head coach disappointing loss handbook in a 7-game series. Phil Jackson has this scripted from start to finish. This is right out of the handbook. So we'll see. Tony Brothers, lead official tonight. Will it be the Tony Brothers we liked in the Bucs series or 50 free throw attempts for the Cavaliers? Hey, game 2, they got you covered. Bottom of the hour, Pat Boyle and Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill. And then tip time for game 2 is at 7 o'clock. Full recap on the show tomorrow. James, great job out of you. Up next, the Colts Daily Update. Then Pacer Hoops on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Enjoy it.